We only taking what was ours. So you better not be the one to doubt us. 'Cause we gon' blow your mind. We gon' blow your mind. We gon' blow your mind. Oh my. We gon' blow your mind. We gon' blow your mind.
Welcome to the 2017 P&G Championships at Honda Center in Anaheim, California. Today marks the first of 2 days of junior men's competition for the top gymnasts in the country, all vying to earn national medals in individual and all-around competition and a spot on this year's Team USA. And now the junior gymnasts that are here in Anaheim to compete in the 2017 P&G Gymnastics Championships. Starting off on floor exercise for South Lake, Morgan Seiler. For Prairie, Curran Phillips. For Cartersville Twisters, Brody Malone. For Liberty, Jordan Williams. For Hayden's International, Cameron Nelson. For Breaston's American, Liam Doherty Hurwitz. And for South Lake, Alan Camillus. Starting off on pommel horse, for Pake, Matthew Randolph. For Technique, Riley Luce. For Woga, David Pochinka. For Kingdom, Nikita Bolotsky. For LaFleur's, Evan Criley. For Woga, Joshua. Beginning their competition on still rings. For RGA, Kevin Penna. For Waller's Gym Jam, Jeremy Bishop. For Gymnastics Olympica USA, Samuel Phillips. For High Point, David Willett. For Acrotech, Colt Walker. For Tag USA, Crew Bold. For Triumph, Dante McKinney. And for Gymnastics Olympica USA, Dylan Young. Starting off on vault, for Universal, Travis Wong. For University of Oklahoma, Alexi Verny. For 5280, Vitaly Gomaris. For Universal, Justin Ochow. For Omega, Spencer Goodell. And for Michigan Elite, Michael Giroux. Starting off on parallel bars for Cypress Academy of Gymnastics, Jack Freeman. From Cypress, Ian Gunther. For Buffalo Grove, Paul Judah. For Cypress, Lazarus Barnhill. From Cypress, Evan Davis. From Cypress, Garrett Bronton. And from Cypress, John Chow. And starting off on high bar for Ohio State University, Max Andriashenko. For New England Academy, Jan Inhaber Forsing. For University of Nebraska Lincoln, Griffin Taylor. For Flip Force, Nehemiah Baker. For New England Academy, Michael Fletcher. And for Scats, Daniel Yoon. These are the junior men competing in the 2017 P&G Gymnastics Championships. At this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats. Here to perform our national anthem from San Bernardino is Gregory Hooper.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous were so gallantly streaming, and the bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Gregory Hooper. Gymnasts may now prepare for their first event in today's first day of competition in the P&G Championships. Gymnasts may now begin the warm-up for rotation 1. '17 P&G Championships, courtesy of USA Gymnastics. Our technical director is Butch Zunich. Officiating on floor exercise is Tom McNamee and Brian Meeker. The judges on pommel horse, George Crank and Jonathan Corbett, joined by Chris Adams and Sho Nakamori. On still rings, Garrett DeJong, Lenny Lucarello, Brian Richmond, and Greg Kester. Ron Hill and Kevin Munez. On parallel bars, Mark Sherman, Deed Schott, Will Fontanez, and Nate Dodson. On high bar, Michael Ash, Mike Jessick, David Johnson, and Nat Hammond. And also judging on floor exercise, Scott Schaefer and Zach Gagnon. We also have on pommel horse Chris Adams and Sho Nakamori.
Hello and welcome to the 2017 P&G Gymnastics Championships, brought to you by Pantene and Gillette. We are here in the Honda Center. It is day one of the junior men's competition. My name is Samantha Peshek, and I am honored to introduce you guys to our analyst for today's competition, Jonathan Horton. Although he needs no introduction around here, he is a two-time Olympian. He has an Olympic silver medal on high bar, went to the University of Oklahoma, and we were talking earlier, he's been to 15 championships, so he has a lot to say about this competition.
Yep, excited to be here. Looking forward to seeing some of the new young guns coming up in the sport with the junior men. We've got a big shift in men's gymnastics right now with so many different things going on in terms of how the sport is changing, guys that are retiring, new guys that are coming in. So it's exciting, this being the year after the Olympics to see, to be completely honest, I don't know what to expect.
Well, we were chatting earlier, how many fresh faces are in today's competition? And I know you've been to 15 of these, but do you remember what it's like to be at your very first championships?
Yeah, a lot of these guys, it's their first championships, and I do remember my first one. It's pretty nerve-wracking. These guys are up on the podium, trying some new routines, trying to find their way in the elite level of the sport.
Well, we're looking at Max Andrushenko. He is about to be a freshman at Ohio State. He's not one of the new ones in this competition. Last year at P&G's, he actually ranked 5th in the all-around and 5th on high bar.
Yeah, and you'll see he's also a member of Ohio State University. His coach, Rustam Sharapov, and Casimiro Suarez, amazing, legendary coaches. So far has a nice, pretty clean routine. Dismount, full twisting double layout, and that's how you want to start your competition right there. Good routine for him, stuck dismount, good start.
You know it's setting the tone for the meet, right, when you stick your very first routine. Next up on floor is Morgan Seiler from Southlake.
Arabian double front.
He is 18 years old from Flower Mound, Texas.
And you will notice with the juniors compared to the seniors, just some slight differences just in terms of how crisp the gymnastics is. These guys, the majority of them do great gymnastics, good routines, good skills, but you don't see really how sharp these guys get. They're really just developing new routines, trying some new things. But that's kind of the beauty of the junior level versus the senior level. You can see where they're going. This isn't the end game for them.
And most of them are new. This is their very first championships. And we were chatting earlier how if you've never been to this competition before, you don't know what the podium is like. Next up on vault is someone that you know well, Lexi Verney.
Yes,
University of Oklahoma.
I had the privilege of training with Alexi. Actually goes by Alosha, one of his nicknames, and his father is the assistant coach at Cypress Academy of Gymnastics in Houston, where I grew up and trained my entire career. So I've had the privilege of watching this young man really grow up and become quite an amazing gymnast now at the University of Oklahoma. Another tie that I have, I went there as well. So I've seen him do some big vaults. I believe he will do what's called a cos 1.5. and does some great stuff. So I'm excited to watch him.
Well, just last year, he got third in the all-around at the 2016 P&G Championships, and he also got third on vault. So there's a little bit of pressure coming in, having scored third last year. But first, we're going to Jack Freeman on P-bars.
Another athlete that I know very, very well, also comes from Cypress Academy, still training at Cypress Academy under Coach Tom Meadows, who's been my coach. And Jack, a little backstory, has gone through quite a bit of adversity just to be where he is. He's had some health scares, he's had some injuries, but to be where he is at P&G Championships is fantastic.
He's only 17 years old and really showing himself. He scored a 12.1 on this routine, 4.3 start value, and a 7.8 execution score. At the junior level, what does a 7.8 execution score mean?
Well, you know, the name of the game right now is execution. Here, we'll take a look at Alexi real quick. And he just did a cause full, very nice, clean, almost stuck. But really, you know, when we go back to the execution side of it, it's tough at the junior level to have that, like I was saying, that crisp, sharp execution, because these guys, they're really working to build their level of their start values right now, their difficulty. So you'll see kind of, in a way, some strange things happen. But like I said, there's a lot of development going on for these juniors.
And we're looking at Corinne Phillips on floor. He's from Prairie Gymnastics Club in Naperville, Illinois. And it's exactly what you're talking about, the little polish and the little wiggles and the wobbles here and there in the corner. And that's what is the difference between the junior and the senior level of competition.
And you'll see there, he just came up short, you know, just to get a little technical for a second for the technical people that are watching. Just had his feet a little bit too far behind him on the takeoff, made the 2.5, under rotate, and wasn't able to get to his feet.
Here's Vitaly Guimaraes. He's from 5280 Gym. Both of his parents were gymnasts and gymnastics coaches, so there's just a little bit of gymnastics blood in that family.
Your Chinko entry, double full. Nicely done, a little bit off to the side. You'll see that red flag that went up. That will be a deduction, but very nicely executed. It's kind of what we typically see at a 5280 right there. You'll see Alexander Artemev's coach, who has just created some amazingly beautiful gymnasts. And we're used to seeing some very nice stuff out of 5280.
This is David Pachinka from Woga, who just turned 17. He actually competed in the JO Nationals this year and was second in the all-around. And he was also a 2017 Winter Cup Challenge qualifier.
Swinging very nice right now. Couple little errors. A beautiful pommel horse routine. And, you know, that's such a tough event to start on in this sport. To jump up there, the nerves are through the roof. And to be able to hit a routine that clean, that's confidence building.
Definitely, and we're looking at Justin Chow from Universal. His coach is Yen Alvarez, someone that we know well.
I think just about everybody in the gymnastics world knows Yen. He's just such an exciting person to watch as a coach. Also, you know, obviously is the father of Danelle Leyva, who is arguably one of the most decorated gymnasts from the United States. Just had an amazing 2016 Olympics. And so all of the guys at Universal, they've got some big shoes to fill. And I know it's inspiring to them to be able to train with Danelle for so many years.
And it's great to see a coach that's so passionate and enthusiastic with his athletes. I'm pumped to see him get so excited for Justin Chow right after this vault.
Well, every now and then you'll see the camera guys will pan over and just put the camera on Yin instead of the athletes, because he is so animated. He's fun to watch.
Hey, it is a subjective sport. You know, maybe he's gaining them a half-tenth here or there. Who knows? But this is his very first championships ever. Let's see what he can do.
Souk double full. Very nicely done. And a great runoff from Yin Alvarez.
And a big smile from Justin. You can tell he was loving that. Here's Nikita Bolotsky from Kingdom.
A little bit off there. Great save. Just fighting through this routine. A little bit of a pause on the handstand dismount. And a great fight at the end. Had he gone off on the wrong side of the horse, it would have been a large deduction, but he really saved it well.
Up next on floor is Jordan Williams from Liberty Gymnastics. We talk about pommel horse and the importance of rhythm and keeping it going, but when we look at floor, how important is the rhythm of the floor routines before and after your tumbling passes?
Well, it is. It's surprisingly more important than most people realize, especially with the men. There is no music, but it is fast-paced tumbling, and there's a lot going on, so the rhythm really comes in with your breathing. You have to be able to move fast, but also at the same time make strategic pauses throughout the routine. You don't want to lose your breath. It's very easy by that last tumbling pass. Your legs are shaking, you're exhausted. You have to have a nice rhythmic movement to floor. If I think about some of the top floor people in the world, Kenzo Shirai, Kohei Uchimura, these guys from Japan that are just unbelievable. They move quickly, but you can see every single move is very calculated. Nice full in right there.
Precise and sharp are the other two words that I was thinking of. And,
yes.
And that's what we're not seeing as much at this junior level, but the ones that do.
That was a massive triple full.
The ones that do accentuate their landings are the ones that stand out in this junior competition.
Back 1.5 to front full. The athletes are now required to do a press handstand on floor from a split. It wasn't a requirement in the past, but if they are going to do a handstand in the routine, it has to come from a split element. That would have been tough for me in the past. My splits weren't the best.
Is that to add more of the artistic value to the floor routine?
Yeah, that's been one of the complaints of men's gymnastics recently is that the artistic side, and just a little bit short there. But the artistic side of the sport has almost kind of gone away. It's so jam-packed with difficulty right now, and I think we're trying to get just a little bit of the artistic side back in the sport. It is called artistic gymnastics.
This is Spencer Goodell checking back. It's just a full, but great execution.
Yurchenko full, nicely done.
We're talking about the artistic value of gymnastics, and especially men's gymnastics, but how big is American Ninja Warrior become in this sport? And these are the heroes of basically better than American Ninja Warrior in terms of strength and their gymnastics ability, athletic ability.
Yeah, it's American Ninja Warrior is just a whole other beast in general. But this is such a great sport for people that are into that show as well. But you're right, this is at P&G Championships, best of the best, whether juniors or seniors. These kids are doing some amazing gymnastics. We're actually going to take a look at Garrett Broughton, who is another guy from Cypress Academy that I know very, very well. I've watched this kid train for the past few years, and he has some great natural talent. You'll see right here. He's very explosive, fun to watch.
It's impressive to me, too, because he's only 15 years old. He's one of the youngest in the competition. He was competing at JO Nationals just this year, got 4th in the all-around, and 5th on this event.
That's a popular skill that we probably won't see too much of in the junior competition called a Bhavsar, named after Raj Bhavsar, one of our teammates from 2008.
That's right, and we're actually going to see him later today. Not competing, but he is an athlete here himself.
You see he's got a nice line, a good handstand. I like his rhythm. He's really taking his time, not rushing anything too much.
Ooh.
And a great save. It would have been really easy for him to put his hands down on that dismount. And if I know Garrett pretty well, he's probably not too happy with that, but that's impressive. That's the kind of thing that I like to see out of these young guys, is the ability to fight under pressure.
We're looking at Daniel Yoon from Scats. Up next on high bar, he's actually the last competitor in this first rotation on high bar. So far, Max Andrushenko is winning high bar with a 13.15. Let's see if Daniel can top that. This is an event that you were the best at and was probably your favorite. Is that right?
I definitely have always enjoyed high bar, and we to be very candid and honest, it's one of the events that the United States is probably surprisingly a little bit weaker on compared to what we were in the past. I think we're going to see a Kovacs element here. No, oh, from this angle, it looked like he could have caught it. Maybe just hesitated reaching for the bar. But, I think about high bar in the United States. I think of guys like Chris Brooks, Danelle Leyva, John Orozco, Paul Ruggieri. I hope I'm not leaving anybody out, but just great high bar guys. And we've had a lot of guys retire recently, so we really need to build on this event. We need some of the juniors and some of our seniors to step up in terms of difficulty, because the rest of the world is taking off on this event. It's getting outrageous. It's really turned into, X Games-ish kind of high bar. But
and speaking of retiring, your former teammate Chris Brooks just announced yesterday that he was retiring.
Yes.
How does that make you feel watching this competition here today when you guys were competing here together?
Oh man, I mean, that's a long conversation to have, talking about him. Chris is my best friend. He's such an incredible athlete, person, family. I mean, he's my brother, and so to see the way he finished his career going to the Olympics after so much that he went through, is bittersweet to hear about his retirement.
We're looking at Dante McKinney from Triumph Gymnastics, and there was so many great male gymnasts, and these are the gymnasts in this junior competition that are hoping to stand in their place. They have big shoes to fill, but they are working hard towards that goal, and this is the first step here at day one at the P&G Gymnastics Championships.
And you'll see just a lot of struggling in handstands, and I don't know this athlete personally, but I do know that when first event, the pressure's on. Nice dismount though, beautiful dismount. It's definitely tough to get your nerves in check, and that could be what was going on there with those handstands, just really fighting it. But he got through it. 16 years old, and definitely a good fight. Great dismount.
We're looking at Liam Doherty Hurwitz from Breschens Gymnastics here on floor. And like you mentioned, the first time you can have some nerves. You either overshoot and have too much power or not enough power, like I think we've been seeing on this floor rotation so far.
Well, a lot of the mistakes that we're seeing, it's just a lack of experience. And, I don't want to tear any of these guys down, but this is the nature of the beast. These guys are coming into, oh man, really undercut that triple full. Definitely, a disappointing way to finish your first event. But, it's just a lot of learning. This is the toughest sport in the world, and, everybody wants to be on that next senior national team, the Olympic team, and these guys are pushing the limit with everything they can. It just takes time to become, like you said, polished.
This is a replay of Joshua Davis. He's from Woga. On pommel horse so far in the competition, Matthew Randolph is, David Pachinka is winning right now with a 13.1.
Oh, a good save. I'd like to see his hips a little more extended as he's swinging, but a good fight. The key point there is the confidence building, knowing he didn't come off the horse. He got through the routine.
This is Dylan Young on rings from Gymnastics Olympica, and that's where we were talking about the experience and the polish comes, but nerves has to play in a little bit. This is the most prestigious meet in the United States. What kind of nerves are going through them right now?
Well, I mean, if they're anything like I was, you know, we all try to keep them in check and not show the nervousness. But I was always just completely panicked before every single routine, especially the first one. And, you know, I'll go back to starting on pommels. I feel like it was my worst event, but I somehow always got stuck starting on pommels. And you almost don't feel like the same person. You jump up, you start swinging, whatever it is you're doing, it's like an out-of-body experience. You know, these athletes, they work so long for an opportunity to make it to something like P&G Championships, and they want it so bad, and that's, you know, those nerves, they're good things. It's a good thing. You got to get used to it. You have to train yourself to be ready for it.
And the adrenaline comes too, but what year were you? I know you've been to 15 of these, but what year was it when you finally…
Nice routine. Great job. Good stuck dismount.
When you finally felt like you handled your nerves?
I never, not one time. No, I mean, I got to the point where if I wasn't nervous, I knew there was something wrong. I just learned how to channel those nerves into adrenaline that worked for me.
This is Alan Camelis from South Lake Gymnastics here on floor. It's the last competitor on floor.
Double full dismount.
So far, our leader on floor is Brody Malone with a 13.7, and that actually rounds out the first rotation of the 2017 P&G Gymnastics Championships. We'll be back after this.
Gymnasts may now begin their warm-up for rotation 2.
when they bury you in the grave. And the second time is the last time that somebody mentions your name. So when I leave here on this earth, did I take more than I gave? Did I look out for the people, or did I do it all for fame? Legend is Exodus, searching for euphoria, trudging through the mud to find the present, no ignoring. I got 20,000 deep off in the street like we some warriors. My mama told me never bow your head. Whoa.
I feel glorious, glorious. Got a chance to start again. I was born for this, born for this. It's who I am, not could I forget. I made it through the darkest part of the night, and now I see the sunrise. Now I feel glorious, glorious. I feel glorious, glorious.
I'm feeling glorious. The crib looking victorious. Oh yes it is. You know that we've been going it. Since we hopped out that DeLorean. Yeah we went. On guard, things are just things. They don't make you who you are. Can't pack up a U-Haul and take it with you when you're gone. We posted on the porch.
This concludes the warm-up, and competition resumes with rotation 2. Start.
Welcome back to the 2017 P&G Gymnastics Championships, brought to you by Pantene and Gillette. I'm Samantha Peshek, and I'm here with Jonathan Horton. You can tweet us at j_Horton and at Samantha Peshek, P-E-S-Z-E-K, and we will be checking in between the rotations to hear what you guys want to hear from the meet and what kind of stories you're hoping to hear next. So first of all, we are going to start back on P-bars with Alexi Verny from the University of Oklahoma. We saw his vault last rotation.
And Alexi is just a freshman at Oklahoma, coached by Coach Mark Williams. Gotta love the boomer on the pants.
Repping that Big 12.
Starts out with a little bit of a struggle on a skill called a tapelt. It looks like he's struggling a little bit with his grip on the bars. He spent quite a bit of time preparing the bars, but that's one of the tricky parts of this event. To see guys do so many skills that drop below the bars, requires so much grip strength, and not only that, but just like that magical potion of what you put on the bars has to be right, or it's easy to slip. There's good dismount, a lot of struggles in that routine. It is one of Alexi's weaker routines. We'll see some great stuff from him later on some other events, but he's probably pretty happy to get through that one.
Well, last year at the 2016 P&G Championships, he did score 6th on this event, so I'm sure he's hoping to regain his status as 6th place or even higher this year. Here's David Pachinka from Woga up next on rings. We spoke earlier in the break about when do you really peak in men's gymnastics? In women's gymnastics, you tend to peak a little bit younger than men's gymnastics. I want to know what you think, why that is, and when did you peak as an athlete?
Yeah, so, you know, it's really kind of a physiological thing, you know, when guys peak, when we really get our full strength, when you know, with the power is there, the strength and everything, especially for events like rings. I would say, you know, I peaked around 24, 25 years old, and I think that's pretty typical across the board. Some guys maybe a little younger, some guys a little older, but, you know, obviously, you know, the women, I would say, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe 16, 17, 18 years old.
I think you're exactly right.
Whereas these guys right now are anywhere from 15 to 18, so they've got a long way to go before they reach their full potential.
And David Pachinka here just turned 17, so he's definitely one of the younger ones in the competition.
A little bit of a wobble on that last hand. I'd like to see him hold those handstands a little bit longer. Comes his dismount. Double twisting double.
Ooh.
Oh, man. And you see he just lacked enough rotation to get that around, and I hope his ankle's okay because that didn't look like a fun fall.
That's a difficult dismount, but I really do appreciate these young guys coming in here and trying this big difficulty, because maybe it's not there this year, but maybe it's going to be more consistent and more comfortable with these skills next year's competition, or later this year even.
Exactly. I mean, that was a double twisting double, which is a very difficult dismount. And at 17 years old, if he's doing it now, imagine where it'll be when he is at his peak.
Exactly.
He should really have it mastered, perfected.
Well, this is Griffin Kaler from University of Nebraska.
Full twisting double, very nicely done. That's a tough skill to keep your knees together on. Anyone that's ever done gymnastics that's tried a full twisting double knows it's tough to keep those legs glued when you're twisting. Nice 2.5 to front half.
This is actually his favorite event, and he has goals to compete for the NCAA team and to make the national team. So he's already on track for those.
Nice steady press handstand. One and a half to front full, and you'll notice the guys really making sure they get their heels together after every single pass. That's actually a rule in the sport now. If you land and don't put your heels together at the end, it can be a 3/10 deduction. Oh, and that's a difficult dismount to finish with, Arabian double front.
Here's Nikita Bolatotsky from Kingdom Gymnastics, hoping for a hit routine here. John and I are waiting. He's looking strong so far.
Yes, nice steady handstand. Dismount. Double layout. Oh, a little piked. Would have liked to see him extend in that dismount a little bit, but a hit set, like we said.
He doesn't look too happy about it, though. What's going on there?
He doesn't. I'd like to see guys after they hit a routine show that they're happy a little bit. You know, you're out here at a great event, P&G Championships. It's an honor to be able to make it to something like this, as you mentioned earlier. And so I love to watch guys have some fun while they compete.
We're looking at Jordan Williams up next on pommel horse. He goes to Liberty Gymnastics. Had a little bit of trouble on floor last rotation. What's the mindset like after you come from an event where you had a fall? Do you just brush it off your shoulders, or what's the mental process like going into your next event?
Well, that's what you're supposed to do, but it's easier said than done. You know, I am no stranger to snowballing. I've done it myself in a competition where you fall on one, go to the next. I actually did it at the World Championships in 2006, so I don't want to talk about that. Anyways,
well, you live and you learn.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, you got to get out of your head, move on. It's one skill at a time, one routine at a time, and there's 6 events. You just have to keep going. Every single routine, every single competition, it's a learning experience, and you can just kind of see, you know, the body language says, I'm frustrated, I'm ready to be done, and that's something that these juniors have to learn, that it's not over until you land your last dismount.
That's right, and especially with this junior men's competition, it always amazes me that it comes down to the last 2 events. There might be some falls, but you can always come back. It's just not over, and he's having a really, really tough time forgetting about the falls and doing his best routine, finishing strong on this pommel horse routine.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not typically someone that likes to be critical. You know, I have a lot of respect for athletes and the work that they put in to get here, but I'll be a little critical right now by saying, you know, I think he just kind of is going through the motions right now, and that second fall, I think, could have been avoided, and you could just see, you know, I don't know if he's hurt, if he's tired, but
he does look a little bit defeated, so
yeah.
We can hope that he goes to the next event and puts up a really strong routine. This is Vitaly Gamarez, a replay from earlier.
Very nice to pelt. See, he's figured out that secret sauce on his hands. He's got a good grip. We actually had a Twitter comment. Mitch Mendoza asked, what was my potion on parallel bars? I used to like to sand the bars down to basically nothing, spray them with water, put some honey on them, throw chalk over it, and then I put water, honey, and chalk back on my hands. I don't know how it worked, but it did every time.
How long did it take you to get ready for
That
your
was
P-bar
that was a
routine?
great routine, a good dismount as well. You know what? I was able to do all of that in less than 30 seconds.
Wow.
Because that's all the time that you have. 30 seconds or the red light goes on and it's a big deduction.
And we're watching Spencer Goodell live right now on his P-bar routine.
Giant on the in to a skill called a moi.
He was third all around at the 2017 National Qualifier in Colorado Springs not too long ago.
Very, like a beautiful double pike. I love that. It's actually really, really hard to point your toes in a double pike. I can't explain why. It's like you're pulling with your toes to try to create flip. So you see somebody with nice form in the middle of it. It's great.
This is Michael Fletcher on floor. It's from New England Academy of Gymnastics. He's turning 18 this year.
Nice simple transitions down the floor. One and a half down the side. You know, some of the routines that we're seeing today aren't, in terms of difficulty, not up to the standards that you'll see from the seniors, but I like to see a routine like this that doesn't have the high difficulty, but he's executing it really, really well.
Well, last year he tied for first on floor here
That's
at the P&G Championships.
This is a great routine, nearly stuck every single landing or just took a small step, but, not that difficult, but just really, really clean, nice to watch gymnastics.
And you can see just even the little experience that he had, how much more consistent he was from the other competitors in this P&G Championships. Here's Dylan Young on vault.
A nice Souk double full, or two different names really for that vault. I don't want people to get confused. I sometimes call it a Souk double full, sometimes call it a Kaz full. It's really just the entry, I guess. It's very similar, a little bit technical there, but for those of you watching and listening, if I happen to say that, it's basically the same thing.
Here's Garrett Bronton from Cyprus up next on high bar. High bar is actually his favorite event, so he's hoping for a hit routine here. At JO Nationals, he was fourth on high bar.
Big Tkachev. Very nicely done. It's an element right there. It's a hop 1.5 over the bar. It's called a Rebalco. And Garrett's just nice to watch. He's got a great line. Like I said, he's very explosive. He's definitely one to watch for the future. Full twisting double layout. And
Nice.
beautiful routine. Come on, Garrett. You could smile about that one.
We're seeing some hits now. They're starting to pick up momentum, get comfortable on this competition floor. Daniel Yoon here on floor. Started with a double layout.
And I watched him do a double layout in the warm-up, and his double layout is massive. I love to see big dynamic gymnastics. It's called a Japanese press to handstand, also known as a wide arm. Just a simple layout down the side.
You can tell how focused and determined he is going into this pass.
That's a tricky pass, front full to front 1.5. And back 1.5 to front full.
He's keeping the momentum going. He's looking for a hit last pass.
Double full dismount. Good finish.
So ending with a double full dismount, it's not as much difficulty as we've seen with some of the other competitors, but he hit his whole routine. His chest was mostly up on all the landings. How does that compare in the competition?
Yeah, so it's another thing that just takes some time to build up the endurance to be able to finish his last pass, that double full. Would have liked to see him stand up a little bit more, chest up. It is only a C valued skill, and at the senior level, you're required to have a D dismount or higher. But again, these guys they're learning, they're trying new things, and that was a pretty good routine.
We talk about endurance on the floor routine. This is Travis Wong here from Universal on P-bars, and how important is endurance, especially for that dismount right there.
Yeah, so I mean, parallel bars, it's a little bit like pommel horse in the sense that by the end of your routine, your upper body is exhausted, and it's easy for your arms to just give out. He didn't quite get the push off of the bars, the extension and the swing before the double back, which is what caused him to land a little bit low like that. But again, these guys, they've got a long way to go in terms of strength, and the level of gymnastics that they are doing, it just keeps getting better as they get stronger.
That's right, and this is Max Andrushenko here, going to be a freshman at Ohio State next year. He's turning 18 in a couple of weeks, and I had the opportunity to speak with one of his future teammates, Alec Yoder, and he says he's plans on studying business in college, and he's a really hard worker, and he's a funny guy to be around, although, in the competition, we obviously don't get to see that side as much.
It's I always call it the on and off switch. A lot of people don't, they see the athletes, they see the seriousness and the focus. People don't realize, especially like myself, I think I've always been known as a pretty serious competitor, but man, I'm just a goofball. And a lot of these guys, I love that they can just turn it off and focus, because that's what this sport takes. It's tough. It's so difficult. It's so challenging. You have to be able to get in your own little world, in your own zone. And that is a really, really cool skill. Double front with a half. Don't see too many of those from a run. A lot of power. Double full to front half.
This is his 4th championship, so he is not a newbie in this competition, and you almost see how serious he is the more championships you do. Exactly what you said. It's the on and off switch. He knows how to be so focused, so determined, and then turn it right off and just relax a little bit before the next event.
Yeah, and you can already tell the difference in experience. Just the level of gymnastics he is more polished. Ooh, a little bit of a mistake there.
Looks like he hyperextended his knees on the landing. Didn't absorb the floor really well. Again, the podium makes the floor a little bit bouncier, so you really have to understand and have some air awareness to find the floor.
Yeah, that's another thing that takes a while to get used to. First time on the podium for some of these guys, and the difference in bounce can make you do things like that, step out of bounds, over-rotate a little bit, and it's a tricky balance to figure out, do I try harder, do I do a little bit less? Like, you don't want to be tentative.
Definitely.
But you also don't want to overdo it.
Here's Jack Freeman on high bar.
A beautiful element called a jam. Dismount, full twisting double layout. Almost got that stick a little bit under rotated. Good finish for Jack. And we didn't see the beginning of the routine.
Pommel horse is Morgan Seiler from Southlake. Last up on the pommel horse rotation, it looks like there's judges icing him out just a little bit, making him wait before he salutes. Here we go. It's always the toughest when you're ready to compete and you just need to wait for that green flag before you can start your routine.
How many times have you been iced before a beam routine?
Ooh, a lot of times. It seems like the pommel horse is similar in men's gymnastics.
Very.
Waiting to go on pommel horse.
It's, I mean, obviously balance beam and pommel horse are completely different, but they're probably the two most technically tricky events in the two sports. And, when you get ice, you're sitting there, you can't help but start to overthink the routine that you're about to do. So it's almost easier to step up there and go. A little bit of a mistake there on the dismount, but again, great job. I like to see the fight in these guys. That's probably the most important takeaway from this competition.
That concludes rotation number 2 at the P&G Gymnastics Championships. We'll be back soon.
Championships.
Last time I said I was in control, I had 25 deaths and we both know when you
Gymnasts may now begin the warm-up for rotation 3.
She gotta shake a little something, ooh. Throwing that thing from left, right, side to side. She gotta have her own money, oh yeah. Shout out to the girls that pay their rent on time. If you ain't here to party, take your ass home. If you getting naughty, baby, here's my phone. Slide with your boy to the bar, slide with your boy to the car. I've been searching everywhere and now here you are. Ooh, chunky, looking for them girls with the big old hoops that drop it down and Daisy Dukes.
I wanna get down.
Yeah, them the ones I'm tryna recruit. I'm looking at you, yeah, you, baby. Now let me hear you say you're ready.
I'm ready.
Oh yeah, girl, you better have your hair weave strapped on tight. 'Cause once we get going, we rollin', we'll cha-cha till the morning. So just say alright.
Alright.
If you ain't here to party, take me home. If you getting naughty, baby, here's my phone. Slide with your boy to the bar, slide with your boy to the car. I've been searching everywhere and now here you are. girls with the big old hoops that drop it down in Daisy Dukes. I wanna get down. Yeah, them the ones I'm trying to recruit. I'm looking at you, yeah, you, baby. You got what I want. I got what you want. Girl, you got what I need. I got what you need. 37, 27, 42. Ooh, squeeze all of that in my coupe. Girl, I choose you. Chunky. Looking for them girls with the big old hoops that drop it down in Daisy Dukes. I wanna get down. Yeah, them the ones I'm trying to recruit. I'm looking at you, yeah, you, baby, chunky. Looking for them girls with the big old hoops that drop it down in Daisy Dukes. I wanna get down. Yeah, them the ones I'm trying to recruit. Hey, I'm looking at you, yeah, you, baby.
Welcome back to the P&G Gymnastics Championships. I'm Samantha Peshik alongside Jonathan Horton, and we are moving into the third rotation, day one of the junior men's competition. Tell me your thoughts about the competition so far.
Yeah, no, well, so it's just kind of what we expected. A lot of mistakes, a few good, some great routines here and there. But like we've said before, it's the juniors. These guys are trying new routines on a new stage. A lot of them have never been here before. A lot of growth to be had, but that's what the junior competition is all about. What I want to see who's going to step up and be ready for the senior ranks. That's what I'm looking for.
And this athlete right here, Vitaly Gamarez from 5280 Gym, might be one of those people that's ready to step up.
Well, right off the bat, just look at the line. He's a taller gymnast, but does really well with execution. I mean, just beautiful gymnastics so far. This has been great so far. A lot of intricate little turning elements. One more there called a quast. That's called a stalder. Double twisting, double tucked, and a stuck dismount.
Big routine, he pulled that out.
That was great. I really enjoyed watching that. See such nice lines. Really good control over everything.
We're looking at Nikita Bolotsky from Kingdom Gymnastics here on vault. Starting off strong on the third rotation with Vitaly Gamarez.
You'll see right there, if you're wondering what those numbers are all about, that actually the judges can see those numbers. It gives them an idea of what to expect. Vault happens so fast, and the judges are judging really three different parts of the vault: the entry, what happens in the air, and then what happens on the landing. And so with needing to look at all of those different things, you want to know what to expect before it happens.
That's right. A lot of athletes say their favorite event is vault because it happens the fastest, but there's a lot of difficulty here in this junior men's competition on this event, and there's a deduction actually if you don't say the right vault that you're going to do before you do it.
Yep.
And that is with those numbers that he was just fixing at the end of the runway.
So they're definitely taking some time
The judges need to get set too. It's only the day one of the P&G Gymnastics Championships, so it takes them a second to get their feet wet and to get the competition started as well.
And a souk full.
Almost looked like his legs buckled at the end.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm sure he's getting close to being able to do that with an extra full twist. That was pretty nicely done. Just a little bit kind of strange on the landing, like you mentioned.
This is Justin Chow from Universal Gymnastics, getting set for high bar. He's had a pretty consistent meet so far, and he's hoping to keep the momentum going here on this high bar routine.
About to say, is he going to jump up there by himself, or where's his coach?
I was thinking the same thing. He needs a second to get prepared. Yin's making a grand entrance.
Yin has, it's a little far. That skill's called a Yamawaki. You know, one thing to note about Yin Alvarez, and I remember I had his, his routine down myself. Yin's got routines. You know, he's got all of these, things that he has to do with his athletes. The way he claps and the way he, he'll sometimes kiss the guys on the forehead before they go. He's got all these rituals, part of what he does. And, the guys kind of get used to what Yin is going to do. So it's kind of another dynamic of their own gymnastics. Like, what is Yin going to do right now?
Well, the thing that I like watching about Justin Chow here is even though this is his first championships, he looks like he's genuinely enjoying the sport. He's loving messing around on these high bars. Obviously, he's put in a lot of work for this routine, but even though he messed up, it looks like it's not bothering him. He's picking right back up, and I think that's what you're seeing in a future champion.
Oh, and that was about as perfect of a jam that you can do. You know, he had some nice release elements in there, did a laid out Tkachev. Also did a straddle, had some knee bends, but big gymnastics out of Justin. Great double twisting, double layout. You know, that's how you finish a routine after falling on the first element. That's really hard to get back up and hit a solid routine. So great job.
This is Joshua Davis from Woga on vault. The first time we're seeing him in the competition today. He's 17 years old, and his favorite food is macaroni and cheese. But I'm guessing he didn't eat macaroni and cheese right before the competition. What was your pre-meet meal?
Ooh, you know what? I always just kept it really simple. A lot of people ask me all the time, hey, what do you eat every day? And then what do you eat before meet? And I'm like, well, I eat the same thing before meet that I eat every day. Why would I change it up? You know, my body's used to something. So, I used to always have like a turkey sandwich or something right before I worked out every day. All right, you know what? I really love a solid peanut butter and jelly. I make the best peanut butter and jelly in the world. I just want everybody to know that. Anyways, and so I would do the same thing before meet.
That makes sense.
Keep it consistent. Nice souk 1.5. Just a small hop. That was pretty well done.
You could tell he was spotting the landing. He was really dialed in, had a great air awareness, and finished square on the table. It was great. Hopefully gearing up to maybe add some difficulty in the next year. Here's Daniel Yoon getting ready for his pommel routine. What's his coach doing down there?
Just tightening up those pommels. I've had a set of pommels move on me in the middle of a pommels routine, and I struggled on that event enough. I don't need the equipment to move to. So the coaches are, pretty strict with themselves about how tight they get those things. Sometimes it's too tight and you can't get them loose to shift because every athlete likes, kind of like parallel bars, pommels, you can adjust the pommels in or out depending on, their preference. So every single guy that goes up there, the coach gets underneath the horse. They tighten, loosen, do all kinds of things, because trust me, you don't want equipment failure because what if you're at the end of the routine, something happens, they'll let you go again if there's an equipment failure, but you don't want to. You're already too tired.
I was going to say, I don't think you're going to want to do a whole nother pommel routine right in a row. The judges are really trying to give them some experience, waiting for their routines here. But I'm sure it's almost as much of a ritual for the coach as it is their athlete, giving both of them confidence that they did their job before they hit the equipment.
Oh, that's a cool old school skill called a Delchev.
Says Liam Doherty Hurwitz from Brescians on rings.
Full twisting double back. Nice stuck dismount. Oh, wait, I thought it was stuck, and then he took a couple steps.
He's
like,
laughing
shoot.
at himself. He knew he had it.
I think I spoke too soon.
Here's Garrett Bronton getting ready for his floor routine. We've seen him on the past couple of events, and his coach is someone that you know well, Tom Meadows. What do you think Tom said to him before this floor routine?
You know what, Tom? He's been my coach since I was 8 years old, and you never know what to expect out of Tom before a routine, so I couldn't really tell you.
Give me an example. The best pump-up speech. Tom, there he is, to
Yep.
the left of the screen. Best pump-up speech Tom ever gave you.
I can't say I ever got any pump-up speeches. I usually got a, hey, think about this, don't screw this up kind of thing.
So you like the pressure.
Yeah, you know what? I think what's important as a coach is to learn your athletes. Some athletes need a pump-up speech. Some athletes need some technical advice.
Quickly, Matthew Randolph on vault.
Nice Yurchenko full. You don't see too many Yurchenkos out of the men like you do the women. It's growing in popularity, though. You know, I think I'll throw out the name again. Kenzo Shirai, Kohei Uchimura. Those two guys do Yurchenko entry vaults too, and
They had some big vaults at this past Olympics in Rio.
big vaults. And so guys are seeing the value in Yurchenko entry vaults and starting to add them to what they're doing.
Who are our top vaulters, maybe in the senior level, that we should be looking out for in this competition tonight?
I'm sure I'll leave someone out that's important, but two names that pop into my mind right away. First one, Eddie Pinev. Is amazing on vaults.
And his
so
younger
powerful.
brother is actually in this junior
Yes.
competition. We'll hopefully see him later today.
They have Eddie Pinev and Donnell Wittenberg. Donnell is just so powerful. Guy can do any vault in the book. But Eddie just has some incredible power that you don't even know like where it's coming from. Very nice. He's very, very controlled.
He almost looks robotic. His arm movements are the exact same. They're precise.
You know, I hate to make this comparison because this guy is, the guy I'm about to mention is a legend, but Garrett reminds me a little bit of Paul Hamm, the way he approaches things. He's, you know, whenever I watch him train, he's very methodical, puts a lot of, you know, he's a pretty serious guy.
And what a compliment that is to Garrett.
Yes.
That you see similarities in Paul Hamm as you do as Garrett.
Yeah, I remember the moment, you know, this kid walked into Cypress Academy, and I started watching him train. I was like, there's a lot of talent here. We got to work with this. And just he just has that mindset.
In gymnastics, I say, is always 80% mental. Do you agree with that? 80% mental, probably 20% physical. And I think there's something wired about the athletes here.
Oh, yeah,
you can't
absolutely.
teach.
Absolutely. You know, and I would say even at the Olympic level of the sport, I think it's 95% mental, 5% physical at that point. It's your body knows what to do. You've trained. It's can you test yourself mentally?
That's right. And this is Travis Wong on high bar from Universal. And more than the physical ability out of these junior athletes, they are working on building the stamina of their mental ability to keep their routines going, to stay focused for all 6 events. We're on the 3rd event right now.
And you can see, you know, doing great gymnastics, but, you know, just to kind of keep talking about the mental side of it a little bit, the halfway point in the meet, you can really see who's gonna really turn it on, keep it going. A good routine for him.
Yin Alvarez seems to be proud of his athletes for that one.
He's got his trademark Yeso shirt on.
I saw that. He's having a good day so far.
You know what? As a coach, if you're not having fun, your athletes aren't having fun, and that is one thing that I love about Yin. Is he likes to have a good time out there. Keep the atmosphere nice and light. Not let anyone get too nervous. Because let's be honest, this is kind of a scary sport.
That's right, and this is Daniel Yoon, a replay of his pommels routine. Remember, we were waiting for him anxiously to get started.
I'd like to see a little bit more lift on those scissor elements. And dismount a little bit slow on the way up. You're not really allowed to use any strength as you get to the handstand. It's supposed to be more of a swinging element, but a good strong finish.
This says Dylan Young getting ready for his P-bar routine. But exactly like what we were talking about earlier on high bar, I think especially at this stage in the game, it's important to celebrate the small victories. A new skill that you're putting in that you hit, the rhythm, keeping a positive attitude throughout the whole competition. I think those are the key things you should focus on in the junior competition, especially at this men's field. Yeah,
definitely. Like I mentioned earlier, I would say every routine, but really every skill is a moment to learn. How does my body feel under this kind of circumstance, in this pressure, with this arena? We'll talk P-bar specifically. There's a skill called a peach on parallel bars where you drop below the bars, you fly back up to handstand. I could do it every single time in training, but that's a peach. He did it to support. But in competition, I got nervous. I did it bad every single time. It took a lot of experience, a lot of time for me to figure out how to do this in competition.
That's right, and these athletes are competitors. We saw him have a little trouble in his first handstand, have to muscle it through, and he picked up the whole routine, and that's because he's a competitor and a fighter. That's what we're looking to see here in this competition. Looking at Alexi Verney from the University of Oklahoma. We've had the opportunity to see him on the previous two events, looking for a strong high bar routine.
And I know he is very excited to be in his first year at the University of Oklahoma. It's kind of a cool dynamic the way it works. Tom Meadows, coach at Cypress Academy, my coach, went to the University of Oklahoma and was coached by this man right here, Mark Williams. So, all the guys that are from Cypress are very used to his style of coaching. It's an easy transition to go from Cypress to Oklahoma, which is why so many guys do.
And we had some Twitter questions earlier about the difference between men's and women's collegiate experience. In men's gymnastics, typically they go and they do college gymnastics, but they also compete elite after they graduate college, which isn't the case for women. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, it's a much different feel, men's NCAA gymnastics, because the truth is, full twisting double out dismount. Oh, a little bit of fight. But, the truth is, most of the time, not every time, the women have kind of completed their elite careers, and then they're going into their NCAA college. Or the men, they're just getting started. A lot of guys go to college, finish college, and then that's when they really pursue world and Olympic kind of competition.
Well, one male gymnast that we're going to see in tonight's competition who is still continuing his gymnastics career, Eddie Penev, and this is his younger brother, Kevin Penev, from PGA.
Good solid P-bar routine, nice dismount. They do look so similar. You could tell they're brothers.
And we hear very promising things about his athletic ability here in this competition, so we're excited to follow him. This is Ian Gunther from Cyprus.
A lot of Cyprus guys out here.
There's so many Cyprus guys. But it's great to have a training group instead of working out by yourself because you push each other. I know you had a bunch of teammates that were on world championship teams, national teams, Olympic teams from Cyprus.
And, you know, just to see Ian out here on floor and to be able to do vault, you know, Ian's had a lot of knee problems in his career. You know, I just know from experience from training with him. And, you know, he had a mistake on that first double pike. But just to see him tumbling is great. And now here's what he's great at. He is very, very good on pommel horse. So might as well do a little pommel horse on the floor.
What does he like to train with?
You know, he's actually kind of he's a fun kid. You know, he's serious when he needs to be and kind of a goofball at other times. But I've for anybody that follows me on Instagram, I've actually posted some stuff of Ian on Instagram. I challenge him all the time on pommel horse to try new things, and he's just he's one of those guys that's really encouraging, fun to be around. And you mentioned the value of having a team to train with. And, you know, that's why there's a lot of guys from Cyprus here that are having some success because they all train together and they have a blast doing it.
Well, the good thing about this junior competition, too, is that they're going to know exactly what they need to work on for day 2 of competition. We're looking at Jeremy Bischoff, the last competitor in this rotation on P-bars. He goes to Waller's Gym Jam and is coached by someone we both know very well, Raj Bhavsar.
Yep, an amazing gymnast. Raj was our teammate in 2008 in Beijing, China. Just an incredible story of what he went through to make an Olympic team. And now spend some time working with the next generation. I know Raj is just a great coach, phenomenal to be around, very encouraging person.
When I spoke to him earlier, he told me that Jeremy is really the lead by example type. He knows exactly what to do in the gym, and all of the other guys follow him. His work ethic, and he really adds his intelligence to his gymnastics. He's able to make changes really quickly and get a sense for the surroundings before he ever gets on the equipment. So Raj was really speaking to his abilities there. That concludes rotation number 3. We'll be back for rotation number 4.
I'm running through the world like a running back. Scarface, world's mind running back. 30,000 people in here know me. 80,000 people in London, Wembley. 90,000 people in Morocco, and I'm just getting warmed up. Papo. Catch me with red one in Stockholm, Beirut Cafe, getting my drink on. While all the pretty women hit the hookah. All of them sweet, azúcar. Dale di fruta. They can't, they won't, they never will. Stop the party. They can't.
Gymnasts may now begin to warm up for rotation 4.
I'm from the city where they stretch, yeah, like slinkies. And now I'm doing shows in Helsinki. I know what y'all thinking that you can outthink me, but you can't, frankly. I'm out for the Benjis, Frankies. Just cause you ain't me, don't hate me. As a matter of fact, you should thank me, even if you don't, you're welcome, young kids. Zigga, 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 zow. Who got the keys to the world now? Yours truly. Blah, 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 blah. They can't, they won't, they never will. Stop the party. They can't, they won't, they never will. Stop the party. I say y'all having a good time out there. Que no pare la fiesta, don't stop the party. Que no pare la fiesta, don't stop the party. I'ma give it to you, now give it to me, I'ma give it to you, now give it to me, I'ma give it to you, now give it to me, get funky, Now stop. I say y'all having a good time out there. Don't stop the party. Que no paren la fiesta. Don't stop the party. To the money makers in the place to be. Que no paren la fiesta. Don't stop the party. To the sexy people in the place to be. Que no paren la fiesta. Don't stop the party. Put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe, so clear. Look out. Pop, pop, it's showtime. 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 Guess who's back again? Oh, they don't know. Downtown. Oh, they don't know. Downtown. I bet they know as soon as we walk in. Showed up. I'm wearing Cuban links. Yeah. Designer mix. Yeah. Inglewood's finest shoes. Whoop, whoop. Don't look too hard, might hurt yourself. Known to give the color red the blues. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jocking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe, so clear. Look out. Second verse for the hustlers. Hustlers. Gangsters. Bad bitches and your ass friends. I cannot preach. I cannot preach. I gotta show them how a pimp get it in. First, take your sip. Do your dip. Spend your money like money ain't short. Ooh, ooh. We too fresh. Got to blame it on Jesus. Hashtag blessed. They ain't ready for me. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket. Keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket. Keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jocking. Keep up. Players only. Come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do? What you trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. Head to toe, so clear. Look out. Everywhere I go, they be like, ooh, so clear. Everywhere I go, they be like, ooh, so clear. Everywhere I
This concludes the warm-up period, and competition resumes at the halfway point of the first day of the P&G Championships with rotation 4.
Welcome back to the fourth rotation of the 2017 P&G Gymnastics Championships. We're looking at Nikita Belatsky from Kingdom Gymnastics starting off here on P-Bars. Being the first to start the event, you don't necessarily have the most time to catch your breath after the touch.
Yeah, sometimes that can be a little tricky. Finish your one touch and then have to run over there, raise your hand, and go. Something that a lot of us train for.
If you had to pick your spot in the lineup, where would you go?
Ooh, good question. I would say, I don't know. I never even thought about it.
I guess you never get to choose.
Maybe last. I think I like going last.
He's from St. Johnsbury, Vermont.
And that was another one of those elements called a bobsar. It looked like he just kind of misplaced that left hand.
You can see the time there. They only get 30 seconds to mount back on the equipment until it's a deduction.
And that's a nice new little added helpful tool right there to be able to have a clock. That's not something that we had when we were competing. We were
Not
just
at
kind of
all.
at the mercy of what the judge was telling us. Hey, you got 10 seconds left.
It's nice. The gymnast is able to take their time and take a deep breath before mounting the equipment again.
Double pike dismount.
This is Cameron Nelson from Hayden's on vault. Again, the rotations are moving a little bit slow, waiting on the judges.
And typically vault isn't one of those events that takes a really long
Right.
time to get the scores up
He
either.
looks a little bit nervous, though. He's standing pretty stiff. What do you think he's thinking? I think he's saying, I'm
Hurry up.
ready, I'm ready, let's go.
Would you put the green flag up so I can go? That was always my thought. Like, what is taking so long?
Big deep breath before heading down the vault runway.
Your Chinko entry 1.5. Well done. Good form.
Nice hip shape. We're looking at Spencer Goodell here on floor from Omega.
Good double layout. Back half punch front full.
It looks like we're seeing a mixed bag of athletes in this competition. There's certain athletes that they're throwing a lot of difficulty that might not making it all the way through. They're having some falls. And then you see athletes like this who are a little bit more consistent and are focusing more on the execution score rather than the start value.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the big shifts right now in the sport is a lot of these juniors are doing something called technical sequences that they train just about every single day, and it's almost like old school compulsory gymnastics, and it's something that I know has been brought back to the sport probably 5 or 6 years ago, and it's something they have to do in competition at, not at P&G's obviously, but at JO Nationals and some other small competitions. They have to do these technical sequences, and it is bringing back some of this more focus on execution versus big time difficulty, whereas the difficulty can potentially come later in the sport. Let's focus on cleanliness and form now.
It's definitely multiple ways how coaches like to teach their technique to their athletes. We're looking at Evan Criley from LaFleur's in Tampa here, about to do his P-bar routine.
It's a nice skill called a Suarez to a front straddle 1 1/4. Some big gymnastics.
I had the opportunity to speak with
It was a quick, short routine, but it had some big difficulty in it.
very quick and short. We're looking at Garrett Bronton from Cyprus on pommels here. Before the competition, I had the opportunity to speak with Brett McClure, who's the high performance director and also 2004 Olympian. And I asked him, what is the goal for these juniors? What are they competing for? And he said, you know, they're looking to compete at the international assignment in Japan later this year. There is 6 juniors being chosen for that competition, and that's what they should have their eyes set on.
I didn't really see the beginning of the routine, but name of the game on pommel horse is just staying on, and he definitely did that from what we saw.
We're looking at Michael Jora on floor. He's from Michigan Elite Gymnastics. We're talking about international competition. Historically speaking, the USA has been weak on pommel horse. What are our weakest events going into this year, and what are our strongest events as a country?
Yeah, our strengths and weaknesses have shifted pretty drastically, actually. We used to be very, very strong on high bar. I mean, you think about guys like Danelle Leyva, John Orozco, Paul Ruggieri. Yeah,
have to add your name into
throw
the
myself
mix.
in there. I know I've listed these guys off already, but we were one of the best teams in the world on high bar, and a lot of those guys have retired. So we're actually pretty weak there now. We're really looking to see who's going to step it up. And our weak event was pommel horse. And now we've got guys like Alex Nador, Olympic medalist on pommel horse. And, we've had a big shift of some great guys on that event now. And, it's been such a focus for Team USA to get better on that event. And I think we've definitely done it. We need to focus on a few other events now.
Well, this is Daniel Yoon from Scats on rings, and like you mentioned, there are some holes in certain events where Team USA shines, and certain athletes in this competition are hoping to fill the gaps. They want to be the athlete that Team USA looks for to compete internationally, to compete strongly and has medal potential on the international stage. Here's Joshua Davis on P-bars.
It's a skill called a Diamidov into a giant. Stutz. Another peach to support. It's a skill that you see a lot from the juniors. That peach element doesn't look like much, but it takes a really, really long time to develop. So you see a lot of these guys doing it to support, whereas the seniors do it to handstand.
It's a good foundation before the senior routines to build that confidence and get experience competing on this stage. Here's Curran Phillips getting ready for vault. From Prairie Gymnastics Club in Naperville, Illinois. Again, one of the newer faces in this competition.
Another Yurchenko entry full. You're probably a little more critical about Yurchenko vaults than I am, since a lot of the women do them. So far, what have you seen? What's your analysis of the Yurchenkos you've seen on the men's side, since it is, not traditionally what guys do on vault?
That's right. I've seen some good hip positions and chest low on the landing, so they're going to want to get those chests up in a stronger block off the table. But we're looking at Max Andrushenko here on rings, who's having a pretty decent meet so far.
Very smooth. Double fronts between the rings are actually called Yamawakis. He did one in the pike position, one in the tuck position. His coach at Ohio State is actually a bit of a legend, Rustam Sharipov, multiple-time Olympian, Olympic gold medalist, really well known for his Olympic gold medal on parallel bars in 1996. A lot of the guys that go to Ohio State are just stoked about being able to work. You see him right there, being able to work with Rustam. He actually coached me for a little bit as well, and just such a great, genuine person who really cares about the athletes.
And he also told us earlier that he trained with Max's dad as a gymnast.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it has to be comfortable and familiar for him. We're going back to vault here with Brody Malone from Cartersville Twister. Vault in general in this competition, or certain things I've noticed, is the chests are really low on the landing.
Yeah, you know, it's an important thing to show control when you land, and part of that is being able to have your chest up. If you land low, you just doesn't show complete, like that. That was great. Doesn't show complete understanding of the vault, mastery of what you're doing.
Looking at Alexi Verny from the University of Oklahoma up next on the floor exercise.
And this is his best event. Alexi is great on floor, has some big skills, double twisting double, some nice twisting elements. It's really fun to watch here.
When can you tell a junior men's athlete is ready to compete at the senior level?
Everybody's a little bit different, but such a slow process where you just kind of ease into the senior ranks. But I would say a lot of these guys, everybody here is going to work their way up into the senior ranks. They wouldn't be here if they weren't. But you really start to see where an athlete is going to be able to go around, I'd say 11 or 12 years old. A lot of these guys, they've been through just about everything in the junior ranks. Another competition called Future Stars. A lot of these guys, they've gone through a lot to get here. This is a big deal for them.
And I think what's really cool about this competition, especially the juniors, is the audience might not know their names and faces yet, but they will be on the senior national team in years to come. They will be at that senior level. They will be competing on an international stage. So a few of these guys will be representing Team USA, and I think that's the really cool part about this competition.
Oh, and having some struggles here.
Looks like he missed his punch on the
combination.
combination.
Yeah, that was strange. I've never seen him do that. It's almost like kind of what I said earlier. He's very powerful, and he may be thinking to himself, this floor is bouncier than what I'm used to. So it almost looks like he's holding back a little bit, and you really don't want to do that.
He was able to find the landing there, and I think it's exactly what you mentioned. It's all in your head when you have the athletic ability of finding the floor and understanding where you're at. The last two passes have been great.
And you can see, just in the body language alone, disappointed. You don't want to make a major mistake like that on your best event.
Here's the replay on Dylan Young's high bar routine.
Nice high straddle to Tkachev. Bends his arms a little bit, but guarantees to get over.
He was actually first in the all-around at the 2017 National Qualifier. So we can expect him to be strong on all of the events across the board here.
And that's always nice going into a competition like this, just to have some momentum behind you, knowing, hey, I'm in shape, I won the qualifier, maybe I can go out there and win P&G Championships. That was a good routine.
Here's Kevin Penev from RGA on high bar next.
It'll give me an opportunity to talk a little bit about his older brother as well. Eddie, that was a great dismount, laid out double-double. But, Eddie Penev is so dynamic, and actually he's known for floor and vault, but he's also very, very good on high bar. Look to see Eddie be one of the top guys in the country right now with what he's able to do on high bar, and his brother's not far behind.
It's definitely one of the names that high performance director Brett McClure mentioned to us earlier of shining stars in this competition and someone that he can expect to have a long career in this sport. Next up on floor is Vitaly Gamirez from 5280 Gym. Looking very serious before his floor routine.
He's in the zone.
He is.
Everybody has a different way of getting ready for a meet. You know, I think about a guy like Chris Brooks who was bouncing off the wall before a routine. You know, some people get really quiet. What did you like to do before a routine?
I
Do you have
think I
any
like to get
rituals or
very
anything?
serious. Yeah, I like to get really serious and just focused and in the zone and take a big deep breath, almost completely calm myself down. Because I used to get a lot of adrenaline. Looks like he had there. Wow, that was beautiful.
Arabian double front with a half out. 2.5 to front half. Wow, this is some great stuff. Flare to handstand, back down.
He competed at the 2017 Elite Team Cup and got 4th in the all-around. Great lines throughout this floor routine.
So far, this has been fantastic work. Didn't stick his first pass, but just a small hop. Everything else has been stuck since then. And I spoke too soon on that one. I'm going to take the blame for that.
Jinxing him just a little bit here, but he has had some experience in 2016. He was on the Junior Pan American Championships that competed in Bolivia, and he actually tied for first place on this event.
Big triple full, a little bit low with his chest, but that was some great floor.
David Pachinka finishing up his P-bar routines.
Just a little bit of a struggle with that dismount. He's sitting there going, what just happened?
Sometimes your routines happen so fast you don't have time to catch up your brain to your body until after your routine is over.
Well, to give him some credit, that was one of the harder dismounts being done in the competition on parallel bars. Double front, blind landing. It's hard to do, to get into from something called a front up rise. This is tough. So
this is Sam Phillips from Gymnastics Olympica here on high bar, and it's actually the last routine in this rotation on high bar.
taking that deep breath like you were talking about.
He's only 15 years old. He's turning 16 later this year.
He's definitely a young gun.
From Woodland Hills, California, and his favorite thing about gymnastics is the feeling of being free. So I'm hoping to see a lot of release moves here from him on bars.
And there's our first one, a beautiful laid out Takachev. That was fantastic. See one maybe in a straddle position. Very nicely done. I would agree. You know, doing gymnastics and being able to fly through the air is very, very freeing.
Probably feel it the most on release moves here on high bar.
I'm loving his style. He's very aggressive. He's got a nice, fast pace.
Well, he has big goals. He wants to make it to the 2020 and the 2024 Olympics. So he's here for the long haul.
I like it. I love big goals and big gymnastics. That was a really, really good high bar routine. He's got a bright future.
For a young gun, he's really put himself in his place. I love that. We'll be back for rotation number 5.
Bring the action.
Rock and roll, everybody, let's lose control. All the bottom, we let it go. Going fast, we ain't going slow. No, no, hey, yo. Hear the beat, now let's hit the flow. Drink it up and then drink some more. Light it up and let's let it blow, blow, blow. Hey, yo. Rock it out, rockin' You know what we talking about? Burn it up and burn down the house, hey, yo. Turn it up and don't turn it down. Here we gon' shake the ground, cause everywhere that we go, we
Bring the action.
When you hear this in the club, you gotta turn it up. You gotta turn it up. You gotta turn it up.
Gymnasts may now begin their warm-up for rotation 5.
All eyes on us.
You see them girls in the club, they looking at us. They looking at us. They looking at us.
Everybody in the club. All eyes on us. All eyes on us. All eyes on us.
I wanna scream and shout and let it all out. And scream and shout and let it out. We saying oh, we oh, we oh, we oh. We saying oh, we oh, we oh, we oh. I wanna scream and shout and let it all out. And scream and shout and let it out. We saying oh, we oh, we oh, we oh.
You are now rocking with Will I Am in
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It goes on and on and on and on. When me and you party together, I wish this night would last forever. Cause I was feeling down, now I'm feeling better. And maybe it goes on and on and on and on. When me and you party together, I wish this night would last forever, 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 forever. I wanna scream and shout and let it all out. And scream and shout and let it out. We saying oh, we oh, we oh, we oh. We saying oh, we oh, we oh, we oh. I wanna scream and shout and let it all out. And scream and shout and let it out. We saying oh, we oh, we oh, we oh.
You are now rocking with Will I Am in
Competition will resume with the start of rotation 5. Starting off on floor for Acrotex, Colt.
Welcome back to rotation number 5 at the 2017 P&G Gymnastics Championships, brought to you by Pantene and Gillette. We are looking at Spencer Goodell up first from Omega on pommel horse. He's had some pretty consistent scores across the board so far, so he's really looking for a hit routine here on pommel horse.
Right off the bat, just a great circle technique. Nice and extended.
Really aggressive. I like how he's fierce when he approaches the pommel horse.
Short and sweet routine with a good fight at the end. Very, very nicely done. Love the execution, love the style.
He's proud of himself there, and as he should be. Even though it wasn't a long routine, he had very great execution throughout the whole routine.
Not a lot in it. Fairly short, and I don't want to say easy. I will never say that pommel horse routine was easy because I know how difficult it is. But, you know, didn't have a ton of difficulty, but to have a routine like that and to execute it so well, I mean, that's really the name of the game. Can you stay on, build confidence throughout your career? It's like balance beam. If you tried a really hard beam routine your whole life and you always fell, even if you eventually had the ability to stay on, you're always going to think, well, I fall all the time. I'm used to falling.
It's true. Daniel Yoon here on vault.
Oh, handspring double front. First time we've seen that vault. Got just a really strange, what we call block on the front of the vault going into it. Just didn't get the height and rotation he needed.
Really tough landing there for him.
I'm not actually sure. I mean, it's definitely not a funny thing, but I don't know if he's going to get a score for that because his feet didn't hit the ground first.
Right.
If your feet don't hit the ground first, you actually will receive a 0.
Garrett Bronton here on rings before we wait for Daniel Yoon's score on vault. And it is really such a tragic thing when you go for all this difficulty, and that's really the risk that you take is are you even going to get a score for it if you can't get your feet on the mat first? So we'll find out soon.
Nice pike Yamawaki, tuck Yamawaki, straddle planche. I'd like to see his hips a little more open.
He's someone that's really impressed me today. He seems like he has his game face on, and he wants to play with the big dogs. He's focused, and he's ready for this competition.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, he's got a bright future. He has, you know, he's very, very talented. And we talked a little bit about it earlier, just his the attitude that he has towards the sport. Nice full twisting double layout. You know, he's a pretty serious guy. It's I think he's going to do big things.
Here's Max Andrushenko next up on Ohio State on vault, and to follow through with the Daniel Yoon score, he got a 12.65, so he did get a score for that vault. Just great news for him.
Nice Souk double full, right down the middle.
On floor, Crew Bold for Tag USA. First time we've seen him today in this competition.
Had the opportunity to go to Tag and work with this gentleman a little bit a few months ago. He had a great program, great coaches, really nice facility down in Florida.
Well, he's only 17 years old and definitely one of the newer faces here in this competition. What did you see that was special about him?
Well, you know, he's got a, I don't want to say untapped abilities, but he, see the ever popular, what we call the man wipe there, the transition. I don't know if you've heard heard about that, but you know, a little bit of a mistake there. But yeah, when I watched him, I was really impressed with some of the gymnastics that he was doing. He's going to do some big things. I'm excited to see where he's going to go with the sport.
Definitely someone to check out in the years to come as well. Here's Travis Wong on pommel horse for Universal.
Good work. It's always tough when we come in halfway in a pommel horse routine. We don't know. I'm going to go ahead and assume that he got through it and it was a good routine.
Looked like he muscled through a little bit. Here on vault is Jan Inhaber Korshisane. Am I saying that correctly? Wow, that is a mouthful.
That's a little tricky.
Inhaber Korshisane. We're looking at Jan. He's from New England Academy of Gymnastics. He's only 16 years old, and floor seems to be his highest scoring event today with a 12.25, hoping to top that here on vault.
A little bit low with the chest on a Souk full.
Looking quickly to floor is Dante McKinney from Triumph Gymnastics.
Oh, nicely done, that Arabian double front. Yeah, it's definitely different for me. I'm not used to seeing so many guys do a split anymore. You know, it was something that you saw back in the 90s, but it became something that wasn't required. And, you know, it's still not a requirement. You're not required to do a press handstand. But a lot of guys use it in order to get the full value of that press. They're doing it from a split, and it's a little different for me to watch.
I think that's the cool thing and also challenging thing about the sport of gymnastics. It's always changing. It's always evolving. You know, basketball, football, soccer. The rules don't always change as frequently as they do in gymnastics as with the Coda points. So it's cool to come back and be a fan of the sport now since we've retired and be able to appreciate it and all the new rules and the new Coda points that they're using here in today's competition.
Well, I mean, just when you think the sport can't get any harder, it can't evolve anymore, it keeps getting harder.
That is true. All these gymnasts come more and more talented at a younger age, it seems like. Here's Alexi Verny from the University of Oklahoma.
Fighting a little bit, struggling on some of these elements towards the end of his routine.
He's looking to redeem himself from the unfortunate fall that he had on floor.
Just a dismount. Struggled through it, had some knee bends in there, but got through it. Again, we didn't see the beginning of the routine, so we don't know what happened, but
this is Jack Freeman from Cyprus here in rings.
it's a cool skill called a Delchev.
Seen a couple guys in the competition actually do that here today.
Yeah, it's not something that you see a whole lot of. It's a great element to, you know, kind of just rest for a second.
It's also cool to see some recycled elements come back and
I like
show
that,
up in the
recycled elements.
Recycled elements show up in the younger guys' competitive routines. It's like they're showing a tribute to some of the older legacies of gymnastics.
Half and half out. Nice stuck landing. And you can see, I know why he's a little frustrated. Had some wobbles in a handstand, but redeemed himself with a nice stuck dismount.
Here's Dylan Young getting ready for his floor set from Gymnastics Olympica.
Two and a half, front half.
He's 17 years old from Burbank, California, so not too far away.
Oh. A little bit wild on that double full.
For those of you just joining us, we are in Anaheim, California in the Honda Center.
A lot of front elements. Front double full, front layout, front full, front half. I was never that great of a front tumbler myself. What did you prefer, back tumbling or front tumbling?
I like back tumbling a little bit more. I could get a little bit more power. I could do more skills. So it's great to see the guys like him who's doing a lot more front tumbling in his routines. Score seemed pretty consistent across the board, and we're looking at Ian Gunther back on rings from Cyprus.
He's very smooth. Well, just look at how smooth he is with everything that he does.
Looking to redeem himself from his floor routine. Remember, he had a couple missteps there.
He's got a really nice line, probably the best handstand that we've seen today. Rings turned out, his head's in line. Full twisting double out. Ooh.
Like he held onto the rings a little long there. Hand got caught.
Yeah, maybe a little bit long, and also, you know, one of the things that's really important on rings is that you throw the rings out to the side when you release them. A lot of people don't realize how easy it is to get your foot caught in the ring, and he didn't really throw them. That was a little scary.
This is David Pachinka for Woga.
Oh, and just, I'm not real sure why he jumped off the bar.
Looks like there's a grip problem. I see him readjusting, and so is the important part before you get on high bar to make sure your grips are set, that everything's tight and glued together so it's not going to come off, not going to shift during your routine.
He sure is taking his time. I don't know how much time he has left, but better get back up on the bar quick.
It was really a
And
strange.
he is just being so tentative.
Very
really not
uncharacteristic at
not-
this
yeah.
stage in the competition, and I think after a fall too, it's even harder to get back up and to catch the rhythm again from your bar routine.
He just looks like he's trying to be too perfect and hit handstands, whereas, you know, in women's gymnastics, they're looking for hitting handstands on every element. It's not like that for us, so I'm not sure why he's trying to control everything so much. Half and half out. You know, obviously a disappointment for him.
He's not going to be
But
pleased with that, but the good thing about the P&G Championships is it's a 2-day competition. So really it's 12 events altogether, and this is just one of those 12 events. Here's Curran Phillips on P-bars.
Nice Diamondov. Moy to the end of the bars. That's a little different. Typically you see those elements go from the end to the middle. Probably see a Tapelt here. Yep, very nice.
How are these routines at the junior level in comparison to the senior level competition that we're going to see tonight?
Well, you know, there's quite a big gap between junior and senior. That was a nice double pike. Good routine. Very, very smooth. Looked like he was very confident with it. But, you know, you're basically going to see what these guys are doing, but bigger with a little more, you know, for lack of a better term, a little more twist, a little more turn. You know, you see those peach elements with a half turn. You'll see the, you know, the skills on the bar, you know, with extra flips, things like that.
This is the replay of Kevin Penev on floor.
And, I mean, you can see the power just runs in the blood. And a huge double-double. Nice 2.5 to front full.
He is so quick twitched. That's what I'm noticing in this floor routine.
Wow, very difficult element. Run, punch, it's called a Randy, but it's a 2.5 front twist.
Great angles on his sets. He's very comfortable twisting. See, he's also very good at it.
Think he's learned a thing or two from Big Brother?
Maybe just a couple things. Wow, this is impressive.
It's a skill called a triple Russian. More technical term is a Fedorchenko.
His form has been great throughout this routine. I'm excited to see the execution score on this.
A triple full like it's nothing to finish the routine. Wow. The Penev family knows how to tumble.
He scored a 14.2 on that floor routine and 8.7 execution score. That is huge in this junior competition.
Yes, it is. That was a good routine.
This is Jordan Williams from Liberty Gymnastics on P-bars. Excuse me, Brody Malone from Cartersville Twister.
Massive double tuck. Really got some great lift on that dismount.
This is Lazarus Barnhill from Cyprus. He's leading the 15-16 group before this rotation, wanting to hold on to that lead with a strong ring set right here. When you know you're leading coming into an event, what's important before you get up to do this routine?
Remind yourself to play your game. You have to stay in your own zone. It's important to not look around. I mean, I was always a score watcher. When I was competing, I wanted to see where I was, but you can't try to do anything that you don't normally do.
That's right.
Don't try to be too perfect. I always say shoot for par.
There's
That's
no
what he needs to do.
defense in gymnastics, so it
Exactly.
doesn't matter what anyone else is doing as long as you do your routine the way you know how.
And that's what he did. That was a very clean ring routine. It's not his strongest event, but, you know, to get through it, stick a landing, move on, keep going.
no major deductions there, and he seemed to be pleased. Looking at the whole Cyprus team,
Got quite the crew over there.
looking at Sam Phillips from Gymnastics Olympica, about to do his floor routine. Remember, we just saw him on high bar, the very clean and dynamic set. And although he looks like one of the younger competitors here, he looks comfortable up there. He doesn't look nervous like some of the older competitors.
Yeah, he looks like he's just having a, good time staying loose. And, we'll see if his floor is similar to his high bar where, very quick twitch, very aggressive.
He was a 2017 Winter Cup Challenge competitor. So he's been competing a lot this year.
Whip half, front double full. Yep, the yellow flag went up from the judges. He did step out.
Got a lot of momentum, but we're looking for control here on this second pass.
Man, a lot of power. I mean, I do like the aggression though. Not holding back at all.
He's starting to figure it out there. Again, the podium is a little tricky to get used to. He's got to find the floor.
Really, a pretty unique way of doing a double full. Big time set, almost kind of stalled before the twist. I like this guy's style.
Me too.
It's fun to watch.
You can tell he's got a lot of potential. The skills that he's competing today, you can tell he's got a lot more tricks in the bag, but he's trying to play it safe and get comfortable and confident in this junior competition.
Two and a half stick.
He couldn't find the judge at the end.
Good routine. I'll say it again. I like the style. I like that he really attacks everything that he's doing. Obviously there were some mistakes in that, but that's a tough element. But
he is fighting hard to stay in bounds. I think the yellow flag did go up a little bit on that pass, unfortunately, but he was able to finish up strong, and I think that's what we were talking about earlier, is that's what we want to see in this competition. Even move on from those mistakes, pick up where you left off. And last up in this rotation is David Willett from High Point. 17 years old and is coached by Jim Shaw. And this is actually his favorite event right here on floor.
So far, good first pass. A little bit low with his chest. Arabian double front, second pass. Back double full. You know, the judges really, they emphasize the importance of landing with your chest up. You know, it's an important thing to show mastery of the element. And so far, the biggest mistake that I've seen is just really kind of having his chest almost parallel to the ground when he lands.
He was second in the all-around at the 2017 national qualifier, so he's coming into this competition with a little bit of confidence.
This should be his dismount. It's front 1.5.
Looks like you just ran out of steam a little bit on the end.
Yeah, a little bit. You know, a lot of twisting elements, and you know, I'll reiterate the importance of landing with that chest up.
That wraps up rotation number 5. We'll be back for our final rotation at the 2017 P&G Championships.
Will soon begin. Gymnasts may now advance.
Baseline.
Gymnasts may now begin the warm-up for rotation 6.
Baseline.
couldn't leave if I wanted to. 'Cause something keeps pulling me back to you. From the very first time we loved. From the very first time we touched. The stroke of your fingers, the scent of you lingers. My mind running wild with thoughts of your smile. Oh, you gotta give me some.
Competition for today's sixth and final rotation will now begin. Starting on floor exercise.
Welcome back to the final rotation of day one of the junior men's competition. Been seeing a lot of new faces in this competition. Garrett Bronton, who's in the 15 to 16-year-old division, he's ending his competition on vault, and he's only 2/10 from first place.
Good event to end with, definitely. You know, it's quick. Just got to put it on your feet and see where the cards fall. Nice, Sook full. Not a high level of difficulty, but
He's a gamer.
I was about to say, he's a gamer.
Yeah, he knew he needed a hit, and he hit. We're looking at P-Bars, Daniel Yoon from Scats. This is the point in the competition where there could be a shift. People in the lower rankings can move up. And
Well,
Daniel Yoon is wanting to do a hit routine, and that's exactly what he did.
You know, there's two positions to be in. There's behind and have nothing to lose, or in the lead and have a lot of pressure. And, you know, everybody has to learn how to handle those two situations because all of these guys have probably been in both of them.
Here's John Chow from Cyprus on vault up next.
It's our first look at him. He actually goes by JR. And a really, really talented guy. I really, I see big things for JR. I've had the opportunity to watch him train and work with him a little bit, and very, you know, young and has the right kind of attitude and mentality to do big things even as a senior eventually in the sport.
Really taking their time judging.
You wouldn't think that there would be very many deductions on Garrett Bronton's Sook full.
And he stuck it, mind you.
Actually, I'm looking at the score right now, 9-5 execution.
Wow.
On that vault.
His final score was a 13.5. I think that's really going to help him in the all-around standings.
JR with the same vault, just a Sook full. Not quite as good as what we saw from Garrett, but I know these guys, they all train bigger vaults. They do Sook double fulls, and a few of them have even trained Yurchenkos. But, you know, I think it's a smart game to play towards the end of the competition.
Got a lot of distance from the horse, which was good, and that's where we can see that he's training more difficulty. It might not be ready for the competition just yet. Max Andrushenko on P-Bars for his last event. He's from Ohio State. Currently ranked 3rd in the all-around before this event. This is Khalil Jackson on floor. He's from Champions in Texas, and this is our first look at him today. There's a lot of competitors from Texas here.
It's a hot spot for gymnastics, that's for sure. You see he's got his ankles heavily taped. Never, you know, every now and then these athletes, they get injured, hurt an ankle, land a little bit short, and
Ooh,
just
and that can't help his ankles
Yeah,
landing
just-
that short.
just stings a little bit.
Ooh, see him
Yeah,
walking off a little tentatively. You know that's going to hurt tomorrow. This is Dylan Young from Gymnastics Olympica. He currently ranks second coming into this rotation in the 15, 16-year-old division. But Pommels is a tough event to end on.
It is, but you know what? I can tell he's very comfortable on Pommels. He's got a beautiful circle.
Wow.
Very nice and extended. One of the things that the judges look for in those traveling elements is your body, basically, it's hard to explain, in facing the right direction. It can't be skewed off to one side or another, and he did that pretty well. Not a long routine again, but great technique, great form. Stayed on. It was a good finish.
John Chow is currently in the lead in the 15 to 16-year-old division on pommel horse with a 13.4. This is Max Andrushenko from Ohio State. His replay on pommel horse, P-bars.
Peach to Giant. And and he was supposed to do a to pelt, and it looks like he just slipped off the bottom. That's called a Healy, and really improvising here. That was supposed to swing all the way back up to handstand.
Is this hurting his start value more or his execution?
A little bit of both.
You know, he was ranked third in the 17 to 18-year-old division coming into this last event. This is Kevin Penev. Quick look on pommel horse from RGA.
Another great circle. That's some big difficulty in this routine right now. He just did an element called a woo to a Roth. I mean, this is a hard routine that we're watching.
And he's ranked second coming into this
Oh,
last
fight it.
rotation. Oh,
And he so close. He knows how close he was. He probably just has a dismount left. But I got to give him a lot of credit. That routine was jam-packed.
looking at rings now.
We'll
Lexi
see.
Vernay.
We'll see just how close. I know it's not on the screen, but watching
Kevin Penev.
Kevin Penev finish his pommel horse routine right now. He literally just had a dismount left.
And you have to be bummed finishing that way when he had such a good day. Trying to figure out what went wrong. So the same thing doesn't happen in day 2 of P&G Championships. This is Paul Judah from Buffalo Grove. Up next on vault. He was 4th in the 15 to 16-year-old division coming into this last event. Vault is a strong event to end on.
And a Souk double full. Pretty low landing, but did a good job staying on his feet.
Pommel horse Jeremy Bischoff from Waller's Gym Jam. See Raj Bhavsar, his coach, standing right next to him.
You know, funny story about Raj, his coach. Pommel horse last event at the Olympic Games. Raj was in the 3-up-3 count lineup, where basically, you know, for those of you that aren't, you know, experts in how the Olympics works with gymnastics, you select 3 of your best guys. They all go up. There's no room for error. If someone falls, you can't just get rid of that score. Raj says that situation, like what his athlete's going through right now, is one of the scariest things that you can do on this event. And you got to hear Raj tell the story about what it was like for him. He said he wouldn't wish it upon his worst enemy to put him in that situation to do pommel horse at the Olympics last event again for a medal with a medal on the line.
Wow. Well, I know that he gave a really good pep talk to Jeremy then, because he's been there, done that.
And this
Jeremy
is so
started
far.
off strong, yeah.
Yeah, going really, really well. You know, a few form issues, but he's got a good rhythm and just has to fight to the end. Get that thing up to handstand and get off. Oh, you know what? And, you know, he landed on the wrong side of the horse, which will be a deduction. But that was a good, solid fight. You know, it wasn't a perfect routine, but got through. Anytime you finish the meet and you don't have 2 dismounts in a routine.
That's a good thing.
I always, for some reason, had 2 or 3 dismounts on pommel horse. I can't explain it.
Lazarus, Barnhill, and
Nice
vault
vaults.
from Cypress.
Good, solid, nice and clean.
That was the replay, and he was actually leading the 15 to 16-year-old division in the all-around before that vault. So he's hoping that he held on to that lead after the first day of competition. This is David Pachinka from Woga on floor. He's had some difficulty throughout this competition, some obstacles we've seen in the past few events, so he's really hoping to finish strong here on this event right now.
Well, what's important is this is, like you mentioned, a 2-day competition. And so you can't get down on yourself after a few mistakes. You have to remember that after today, there's still 6 more routines. Anything can happen. So that's another lesson for every one of these athletes to take home is no matter what happens, the day 2 is redemption day. And so you got to finish strong here to have some kind of good feeling in your mind, to leave the arena, come back the next day ready to go. Show,
Right.
hey, that's not my normal self. I'm better than that. And that was
easier said than done
it
because
is.
we can both empathize how frustrating it is to get to the competition. You've worked so hard, so many hours in the gym at practice on these routines, and you don't necessarily show your full potential. And that's what's frustrating about it. And the hard part about letting it go to focus on this event right here.
It is hard to let it go. And I'll tell you, I never let it go. I always use it as fuel for the next day. Like, that's not going to happen again. I think it's important to not let go of any kind of error or mistake. You can't let it ruin you. You got to let it make you better.
That's right. He's coming in full force here on this floor routine. Trying to find the landing. Minimal deductions here. This is really the time for them to breathe and catch their breath before the rest of their tunneling passes.
Good double full.
I'd like to see him land his passes with a little bit more control.
And a 2.5. And so this is something that he's going to have to learn, because you can't sit down your dismount and roll around like you're mad. So that just comes time, experience, and maturity, and he'll get there. You got to stand up with confidence and say, you know what, that wasn't good. I'll be back the next day. I'll be back next year. I'll be back, and I'll do a good routine.
This is Nehemiah Baker finishing up his first day of competition on P-bars. He's from Flip Forest, North Carolina.
And you'll see the same kind of reaction from a lot of these guys. You know, they're disappointed in their day. And, you know, if I could sit down with the entire group and say, hey, guys, look, this isn't the Olympics yet, okay?
Yeah.
Well, look,
I'm sure they would all like a pep talk from you.
Keep your head up, okay? This is, P&G Championships. Everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to be a national champion. But it's time to learn. And now this is pot calling kettle black, because I used to get so mad if something didn't go right. But I learned from it.
That's right. Well, this is Spencer Goodell finishing up his competition on rings from Omega. He's someone that we've been watching throughout this competition that has a lot of potential.
Really showing off, holding these positions. Judges count. It's only a 2-second requirement to hold. I always tell people, hold for 3 or more.
When you count in your head, is that 1 gymnastics, 2 gymnastics, 3 gymnastics?
I used to try to count to like 5 until I was too tired. I did not want to, acquire any kind of deductions. Nice dismount. Good job.
We talked about this being a subjective sport. That's the nature of the game. So
Yep.
if you can hold it for 5 seconds, you're hoping to at least get 3 seconds in the judge's mind.
Exactly. Well, especially when you're up there when you're doing an iron cross or a Maltese or even a simple L like we just saw. Trust me, in your head, it feels like forever, but it's not that long. You have to count slow.
This is Nikita Belatsky from Kingdom finishing on floor. At JO Nationals just this year, he finished 6th in the all-around.
I'd like to see a little bit more just making every single move like he means it. You
Yeah.
know, it almost seems like he's just kind of walking around on the floor. Maybe his ankles are hurting, but almost put a little more passion into that routine.
Yeah, the transitions were a little bit weak there. This is Colt Walker from Acrotex. Finishing his pommel routine, and it's always good to see someone finish their pommel routine with a smile.
Let's see, we got somebody chalking up their feet, getting ready for a floor routine.
This is Evan Criley from LaFleur's in Tampa. He's got a lot of hair going on there.
I like it.
Hope it doesn't get in his way.
It's like the Chris Brooks style
I was
from a
going to
few
say,
years ago.
it reminds me of someone we know. Maybe it's a little tribute to his retirement.
Hey, there's some really cool pictures that came from that hair in the middle of a high bar routine.
That's what Evan's going for. We'll check back with him just to triple check that stat for for the next day of competition.
So this is always an interesting position to be in.
You're
Last event, last guy up, all eyes on you. It's kind of like an event final.
That's right, and he knows it too. But the tricky part about this is to stay in your own zone and to focus on your routine.
Full twisting double back. Interesting to see him not do a back handspring. He just did a round off right into the element. Again, Arabian double front. Hey, if it works for him.
He's from Clearwater, Florida.
Yeah, you mentioned using these non-acrobatic elements to take a little breather to rest. These guys just better enjoy that at the junior level, because at the senior level, floor is turned into just rapid fire tumbling. There's not really any time to rest, but definitely take advantage of it now when they can. Getting ready for that dismount, triple full, nicely done. That's a good finish to the competition. Good
Definitely.
routine, no major errors, nice triple full.
Seems to be happy with that. Thank you for tuning in to the 2017 P&G Gymnastics Championships. This is day 1 of the junior men's competition. We will be back soon with the standings.
roaming around, always looking down at all I see. Painted faces fill the places I can't reach. You know that I could use somebody. You know that I could use somebody. Someone like you and all you know and how you speak. Countless lovers under cover of the street. You know that I could use somebody. You know that I could use somebody. Someone like you. I'll spend the night while you live it up. I'm off to sleep, waiting more to shape the poet and the beat. I hope it's gonna make you notice. I hope it's gonna make you notice. Someone like me. Someone like me. Someone like me. Somebody.
Thanks for tuning in to pgchamps.com to watch this live broadcast of day one of the junior men's competition. The standings after day one in the 15 to 16-year-old division. In first place is Lazarus Barnhill with a 78.5. Second place, Garrett Bronton with a 78.05. Third place is Paul Judah with a 77.7. In the 17 to 18-year-old division, in first place is Brody Malone with an 81.3. In second place is Vitaly Gamarez with a 78.75. And in third place is Kevin Penev with a 78.15. John, we saw a lot of great things today and a lot of things that they're going to want to fix for the second day of competition. What are some great things you saw, and what are the fixes and the changes they're going to make before day two?
Well, you know, the big thing that stood out to me was that in our junior level of men's gymnastics right now, everyone's doing the right things. Everyone is on the right track. I can see from the way the routines are being put together, the skills that are being done, these guys are, you know, they're on the right path to make it into senior ranks, doing the right things. You know, every single one of these guys, if you ask them, what do you want to do with gymnastics, they'll all say, I want to be on a world team, I want to be on an Olympic team. So I think that these guys are doing the right things. You know, what they could fix, you know, it's not even physically what they can fix. Obviously, they don't want to fall as much. They want to have better form. They want to stick landings. But I think it's confidence. You know, when I look around at what everybody's doing, you know, when someone makes a mistake or when one of these guys falls, you got to pick yourself back up. You've got to hold your head high. And, you know, I think it's very, very important for these guys to know, hey, I'm at the P&G Championships, biggest meet of the year. I'm one of the best in the country. I need to hold my head high, and even if I make a mistake, it's just something that I need to learn from. I know we spoke a lot about it, but, you know, it's very important for these guys to start to understand the value of being proud of where they are and what they're doing, and, you know, having a lot of gratitude with the amount of work that they put into and this amazing place that they're at right now.
I bet that's the type of pep talk their coach is going to give these athletes going into day 2 of competition. They have 1 day off. I shouldn't say 1 day off. They're going to be training tomorrow before their second day of competition. But tomorrow, make sure you tune in to pgchamps.com again for the junior women's competition. It's 4 p.m. Eastern Time and 1 p.m. Pacific Time. I am joined by Jordan Weber, 2012 Olympic gold medalist, and it's going to be a great, great competition. So make sure you check back tomorrow.